What is going on, my fellow godlies and Warframe enthusiasts around the world? I am Vance from Warframe God Builds, and real recently a lot of people have been asking me, Vance, why are you using Nikana Prime over anything else? Well, it's simple. Two reasons. One, I would like to stray as far away from the mainstream meta as possible. Come on, guys, it's about to be 2017. Everybody knows about covert lethality on daggers. My god, if you haven't heard about that by now, you are living underneath a rock. And because Nikana Prime does do the job, right nearly as efficient as the Dark Dagger. The reason why I say it does its job is because using it with Ash is unique. You will benefit from the 76% status that we already have on this weapon and the invisibility that you're going to get. How this is going to work is you're going to build for blast, and that's going to be very important. You're also going to build for corrosive, and that's also going to be very important. And when you land those critical blows that knock the enemies off their feet, you will do a ground finisher. This ground finisher will damn near insta-proc your slash damage. And with Ash's unique ability of slash, you will bleed your enemies like a stuffed pig, and you will see the crits fly. I'm not kidding. These crits will just spill out of the enemy as fast as the blood is trickling onto the floor. And it really looks like an explosive enema of blood just gushing from their wounds. But what I find most interesting about this setup is that I didn't fully discover how potentially great this setup was until I went with all status. And then, on top of that, I tried the dual dex dagger just for shits and giggles. Now, the crazy thing about the dual dex dagger is all of the stats, basically all of them, are so much lower than Nikana Prime. You would think that Nikana Prime would be the obvious choice. However, we're still using the same build here. Same thing, the only thing that's different is the stance mod. And yet, the dual dex dagger seems to outperform the Nikana Prime in DPS. Whereas it may take a ground finisher and a couple more combos and maybe another ground finisher to off level 135 heavies. With the dual dex dagger, you can do a ground finisher, get a couple of hits in, and they're dead. There's no competing with that. So, there are two healthy alternatives to Ash main players. You can either use the Nikana Prime or the dual dex dagger, but you're going to need to run this type of a setup because if you don't, then you're not going to be able to capitalize upon the bleed. And I noticed that with the God Build series, I did not introduce the type of lens that I was using with Ash. So real quickly, I'm going to show you why I'm using what I'm using. With Ash, I've primarily focused on Blazing Fury, and that's something that I'm going to max out as much as possible, because once this bad baby is activated, Phoenix Gaze increases slash damage by 20% for the duration of the mission, and when this levels up, who knows what that percentage is going to go up to. But any amount of percentage gain is definitely worth it with Ash because of the bleed procs. When you bleed your enemy like a stuffed pig, it really does not matter what level they are, they will die within a hot freaking second. Because the thing about slash, especially the proc, is that it's not going to pay attention to shields, armor, or any of that. It's going to zap their health in a matter of seconds. So the minute you get that instant slash proc, you're going to open them up to more, and more, and more, and more. And you might ask yourself why I'm not using one of the new mods. I tested it and it just really doesn't seem to have much of an effect. Really, a lot of the damage mods don't seem to have much of an effect. I could take off the prime pressure point, or even the event mod for slash, and I would still kind of see the same results. They wouldn't be as quick, but mind you, they would still be there. With Ash himself, not much has changed. I swapped out the Transient Fortitude for an Intensify, and then I swapped out the Blade Storm Augment for a Fatal Teleport. So quickly, let me just explain a couple of things here. The Blade Storm rework that we got was pretty fucking terrible. I'm not gonna lie. While it's alright, and it does do as advertised, the deal breaker lies in in-game content. Before, you could just click 4 to win, and that's all it would take. 4 was the button you would press if you wanted to get yourself out of danger and kill a few enemies around you. Well, the issue in-game now is that you have to press 4, then look around, target all your enemies, then press 4 again. And that's what's going to activate Bladestorm. Now, the gap between your first 4 press and your second 4 press could be milliseconds, it could be a few seconds. It really depends upon the player. But the deal breaker is the fact that there's any time between the first press and the second. Those precious seconds are seconds we simply do not have in in-game content. Therefore, I have resorted to not using my Bladestorm at all and deeming it completely worthless. You might think otherwise. You might want to build for your Bladestorm, and that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm sure it works, but for me, I just rather rely on the Fatal Teleport if I find an enemy that just simply won't go down, because Fatal Teleport is damn near a one-shot kill for any enemy you're talking about. And if they do survive it, they're going to be in such a weakened condition that a few more hits is going to do them in. I'm also just going to rely on my invisibility to crit everything, to knock it down, and to capitalize on those bleed procs, because they are going to be massive, and I've yet to find anything in the game that can really handle that type of damage. So, if you agree with this build and you learn something, it always helps if you smash that like button, rate, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And until next time, this has been Vance, signing off. Peace.